Welcome to the show, guys. We're going to talk about the weather. This is a Weather Plus. My name is Meteorologist Craig Moeller, and we are up and live on YouTube and on our 13 News Now Plus app, always free and available on Roku, on Apple TV and Fire TV. We've got a lot to talk about today. These are some of the topics we're going to be covering over the next 30 minutes or so, and we're going to start off by talking about this incredible dry stretch of weather. Now, some of this update here, this special weather segment that we do at 13 News Now, is going to be focused on some issues in the mid-Atlantic. Some of them will be focused across the country and some larger, broader things that we need to talk about. It has been extremely dry. We may set a record for the longest period of time Norfolk has gone without measurable precipitation. It's been incredibly dry in Atlanta. It's been incredibly dry in Philly, in New York, in many parts of the eastern half of the country. So we're going to talk about when there may be an end in sight. In addition to that, severe weather for all my friends back in the Midwest. If you're joining us from the central part of the country, there is a really good chance we're going to see some very powerful storms developing. A lot of shear, a lot of instability. We could see several tornadoes across parts of the central U.S. I'm going to talk a lot about that coming up. So if you have a family or friends, or if you're joining us from the Midwest, I'll have you covered on that in just a moment. We also have Halloween and Election Day forecast. You think about how important this upcoming election is. So much at stake, so many people so passionate about the upcoming election on Tuesday. We're going to take a look at conditions as they look right now. It's still a little early. Things could change a bit, but I'll give you an early look ahead to what parts of the country will have great weather for getting out to the polls and voting, and which areas may be impacted by some significant or rough weather. Here's what we had this morning in Hampton Roads, an absolutely gorgeous sunrise that was sent in by one of our viewers out in Croatan. This is Virginia Beach, just south of the Rudy Inlet. I wanted to start off by showing some clouds. We actually had a cloud deck roll through Hampton Roads this morning. It's been a little slow to clear out. We are going to see skies becoming mostly sunny through the afternoon. But even though you've got these clouds, they weren't producing any precipitation. It has been dry. That has been such a big deal. For the year, we still sit, as we have since the second day of this month, at 44.82 inches. For the year, we're still about 2¼ inches above average. And you have to think, okay, so we've been dry for so long. Well, we had record rainfall in Norfolk. It was the wettest March on record. And then July was very wet as well, one of the wettest that we've had. So coming into the late summer, we were thinking, oh my gosh, we just had this incredible abundance of rain. And then September turned out to be dry. We finished about an inch or so below average. And then this October has been incredibly dry, the third driest on record here in Norfolk. You take a look, again, we had some rain on the 1st and on the 2nd, but we've gone now through the last 4 weeks now. 4 weeks we've gone without any rain as we're finishing out October. We're going to be dry today and again tomorrow. Slight chance for a shower on Friday, but we're going to talk about when I think we'll see a little bit better chance of breaking this stretch of dry weather. Again, through yesterday, it was 27 days. Today is a 28th day. That puts us fourth for the longest stretch of dry weather at Norfolk International. We'll quickly pass the third, which was set back in 1964. And if we don't get anything on Friday, looking ahead through the weekend and into early next week, we are likely going to wind up breaking that all-time record. We may finish out around 35 days or so. It's been incredible. All right, we'll take a quick look here at the 7-day rain chances. Slight chance Friday. Most of the models, they're bringing something towards us, but kind of fizzling it out before it really comes in and reaches the airport. So again, a slight chance, I'd say about 15%. Maybe we get a little bit. If that's it, then we're done with the stretch. But again, this is not a drought buster. This is simply an opportunity at a few showers sometime Friday with the front coming through. Then we have several more dry days. And then Wednesday, we see, again, a chance for a few isolated showers. And that's just one of the models. Some of the models are keeping it a little drier. It does look like our chances for wet weather will go up after Wednesday, maybe Thursday or Friday. some more isolated to scattered wet weather. At least that's how things are starting to look. The graph model, the European model, starting to produce some more rain by the end of next week. So dry stretch has been incredible, but maybe a little bit of a break inside. Take a look at the 8 to 14-day precip outlook, and you can see this area in the central U.S. wetter than normal, and it looks like we're going to see above normal temperatures coming up as we get into that same stretch. It's going to warm up. Temperatures much chillier back around the Four Corners region. So that's what's going on. Right now, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Hunter Forst, and you're going to talk a little bit about daylight saving time and what's going on this weekend.
That's absolutely right, Craig. You know, we're changing our clocks back this weekend. I know not a lot of people are excited for it because that means the sunsets are going to be an hour earlier than where they are now, but also the sunrises are also going to be earlier as well. So instead of about 7:30, the sun will rise at about 6:30, so not bad, but sun setting at around 5:05 as we head into Sunday night, so much earlier than what we have had the last couple of months. But also, it's also a good reminder to change out your batteries for your things like smoke detectors or the CO detectors, because that's something you should be doing every 6 months. And just like daylight savings time, which happens twice a year, you should be changing out your batteries twice a year. So the National Fire Protection Association came up with a trend called change your clocks, change your batteries. So every time the clock changes throughout the year, you should also change out your smoke detectors and your CO detectors. So again, just another reminder for this weekend that if you're changing your clocks, you should also change your detectors.
All right. Yeah, good advice there, Hunter. And again, earlier sunrise, which is nice for you early morning risers. You like to get out and see that sunshine. But again, those earlier sunsets, it's a little sad when it gets dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock. You're like, really what happened to the day, right? I know. All right. Hey, one other bonus. You do get that extra hour of sleep this weekend, so that's kind of nice as well. All right, let's get into, I think, what is going to be a very big story as we look ahead to the weekend. If we can take this graphic full, I'm going to walk over to the M wall and talk a little bit more about what's coming up. We have right now some showers across northern Missouri and back across Kansas, starting to see a little bit of development. You can see the winds coming together. There's a frontal boundary out there. We still have high pressure here. That's why the weather in the mid-Atlantic and the eastern seaboard continues to be dry and pretty pleasant. But that area back across the central U.S., this is the battleground. And you can see the high temperatures yesterday were still well into the 80s, all the way up into Wisconsin, Minneapolis up to 80 degrees. So you get this surge of warm air across the central U.S. and then much cooler air coming in from the northwest. There's our battleground. And as we look forward to the potential for wet weather and strong to severe storms, we're going to be watching for that. All right, let's take the graphic full. I'm going to step over and switch something on the fly here. That graphic actually jumped ahead on me. The actual data time on that switched up. So what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and just adjust this on the fly. That's for your Thursday. I want to show you what's happening today. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you. Again, as we go, we'll take a quick look at our temperatures and that battleground where you see the warm and cold temperatures there. That's where the frontal boundary is, and this is the area that I am most concerned with as far as the potential for severe weather. Now, as we take a look, you are going to find across the area the chances for the rough weather, and there is a chance for tornadoes as well. As we get into this, there is a level 3 risk. You talk about the different levels of potential severe weather with the general thunderstorms, and basically what we have, you go to a marginal risk, that's level 1. That's not a big concern. Then you go to a slight risk, that's level 2. You get to an enhanced risk at level 3. Now, we have that kind of a risk in the central U.S. for potential tornadoes. But this particular graphic just focuses on the tornado outlook. And when you see these various colors on the map, they represent things a little differently from most of the convective outlooks. Now, this information comes from the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, and they do a phenomenal job analyzing everything that's going on. They take a look and they say, okay, is there ample moisture? Is there shear? Are the winds changing directions with height? Do we have those varying winds setting up the potential for supercell development? And could some of these cells produce rotation? It looks like all the ingredients are coming together in the central U.S. for tornadoes. And these are probabilities of tornadoes happening within 25 miles of any given point. So you're going, well, 2%, that doesn't seem like that great of a chance. But you think about it, on any given day, you have, very little, if any, chance at all of ever seeing a tornado. So you get into this, and this means just simply anywhere in here, an isolated tornado can't be ruled out. You get into this level 2 area, and now within 25 miles of any point shaded in there, there's a 5% chance that you could have a tornado. So there will likely be a few tornadoes somewhere in this area. You get into this area hashed out with 10%. This is the third level with the tornado outlook, not just severe storms. There are going to be severe storms, and I'm going to show you a future cast where we get into that. But this area, hashtagged and showing 10%, this area has a 10% chance of an EF2 to an EF5 tornado within 25 miles of any given point. And this extends from right around Kansas City, just north of Kansas City, back down through the northeast part of Kansas, through Wichita, and extending down into north central Oklahoma. So once you get into even a level 2 threat, you really got to be careful. You're watching for things in the level 1, but level 2, you're starting to be concerned. This is an area where there should be a few tornadoes that do develop, and we could have multiple tornadoes in that area. So for folks watching back in the Midwest, this is certainly something to be concerned with later today. So we're going to jump into the forecast model. This is a future cast, and this is based on the graph model. You can see how it erupts those storms, and then it brings them on through Missouri and continues them down, some more heavy rain down into the deep south. This line is going to come through, and again, we'll take this graphic full, and I'm going to shuttle it back and give you some more specifics on the timing. That's the overall movement between now and Thursday, and we're going to break down those conditions for Halloween and trick-or-treating here as we go along as well. But let me take you back, okay, and here we go. Through the morning, we've seen just a little bit of development. As we get into the afternoon, and again, this time that you see here is actually Eastern Standard Time, or excuse me, Eastern Daylight Time right now. So for the Midwest, around, say, midday, right at lunch, you can see those storms erupting around Omaha, potentially back down through northern parts of Kansas. Now, as we go through the afternoon, this afternoon, heavy storms potentially back across Wisconsin and Iowa. But look at the storm development right here now, extending down through Wichita. Along this line, there's going to be some gusty conditions, but we could also see some more intense cells, and along that line, there may be some rotating cells. So we're going to be watching for that. As we continue through the late afternoon and into the evening, the line continues to work a little farther to the east. You've got the maximum heating going on, feeding into these powerful storms back down through Oklahoma and Kansas. Keep in mind, winds ahead of it coming up from the south, winds behind the system coming in from the north. So you've got the winds in different directions. You're reaching this through the afternoon during the peak heating of the day, and this is a cooler push of air coming in. Anywhere along this line, you have the potential for strong to severe storms, but some supercells could develop along this line. And as this works eastward, this is going to be the concern through northern Oklahoma and through Wichita, back up through eastern Kansas, even parts of southeast Nebraska, it's possible, and into northwest Missouri, up through Iowa, and some heavy rains extending up into Minnesota as well. That's at 7 o'clock. Let's take you through the evening. And again, we can go back to the graphics full, and we'll take a closer look at this line. Look at how it really flares up there. We get some more development through north central Missouri, down through Kansas, and now folks down around Joplin, Missouri, an area that was just really hit so hard ago by that massive tornado in Joplin years back. Springfield, Missouri, they know how serious some of these tornadoes and these outbreaks can be. We have the potential for a line of very intense weather. Now, we could see some bowing along this line as well, which would indicate the potential for some strong outflow and some strong thunderstorm winds. So not only do you have to watch out for isolated tornadoes along this line, but just the general conditions with this line coming through could be a real problem. You take a look at the severe things that we look for. Hail larger than an inch in diameter. Certainly a possibility. Tornadoes, and as I mentioned, those winds, damaging wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour. All of these things are in play this afternoon and this evening. The other thing that's a real concern as we have this line ramping up and moving across Missouri, southeast Kansas and Oklahoma, this is happening at night. So folks have less time to maybe prepare or see these things coming. Of course, there's excellent meteorologists back in the central U.S., and I urge you to tune into your local broadcasters and your trusted sources for weather coverage back there in the central U.S. Now, as we continue overnight and into Thursday morning, that line continues to march to the east. Again, intense rainfall from right around the Great Lakes region, not too far from Mackinac Island, back across Lake Michigan, down through Wisconsin, Illinois here, cutting across Missouri. Again, that line all the way down through Oklahoma and approaching the Dallas area. This is at 1:30 in the morning. So overnight down through Texas and Oklahoma, we've got to be concerned with potential supercells down there. This cell continues to work eastward overnight. Arkansas likely to get it. St. Louis expecting some intense rainfall late tonight and early tomorrow morning. I'm a former chief. I was in St. Louis at KSDK, our NBC affiliate in St. Louis, and I can tell you again, the storms there overnight, you can get some nocturnal thunderstorms. You get some of these powerful fronts coming through. You get your second severe weather season, which we're into right now, and this line can do some real damage. So folks back there are going to be watching for sure. As you can see through early tomorrow, we still have lines of intense storms across the south central U.S. That's going to continue to work eastward. Eventually, some of those storms working across Arkansas through early Thursday. And now we're talking Halloween. And look at this as we go through the afternoon. Still some intense rainfall down across Louisiana, back into Mississippi, Tennessee, central Tennessee, maybe some stronger storms. The northern part of this, it does weaken and fall apart. So folks up in the Ohio River Valley, some unsettled weather, some wet weather, but it looks like the stronger storms may be a little farther to your south, heading into the trick-or-treating time. And again, this is 6 o'clock central, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. You can see there will be chances for wet weather there across the Ohio River Valley and down through the lower Mississippi Valley. Kids down around New Orleans, parts of Mississippi, they're going to be watching and maybe dodging some rain there. So we're going to talk some more about the Halloween forecast as we go along, but I really wanted to share with you, again, that severe weather outlook. Now, this was sent in by one of our viewers, someone that enjoys our weather coverage here at 13 News Now. Don Sipple, I just love this. I love this when y'all take time to send in pictures. And how about that? You get rain, you get sunshine, and they make a rainbow. And I think we may have seen that adorable little girl. I love the weather costumes, and it really ties in, I think, to the whole weather thing. Let's talk about the Halloween weather outlook. As I showed you, they're going to be looking at rain potentially and maybe some heavier storms down to the south. That's late afternoon there for Halloween. Some snow maybe for parts of the higher elevations out across the northwest, and maybe some rain showers along the west coast. We can give you some more detail on that. We'll zoom in and take a look at some of the cities, and these are daytime highs for your Thursday for Halloween. Again, along the eastern seaboard, things are looking great. From Raleigh to New York, Boston, it all looks good for trick-or-treating and for Halloween during the day. We'll be watching this. It'll keep working eastward, so those areas across central Kentucky and Tennessee may be dodging some wet weather, as I mentioned, wet down across New Orleans. As we look to the central U.S., those chances for showers or storms earlier, I think for the trick-or-treaters, that rain should be through, so things will improve as the kids head out at night. It's going to be cooler up in Minneapolis, 45 during the afternoon, and cooler temperatures at night, so the kids there will want to bundle up. Down Dallas looking better once that line comes through, but we got to get through that late tonight and early tomorrow. Houston could see some lingering showers, but again, I'm hopeful that this will keep pressing east as we get into the evening. Unsettled weather for the northwest U.S., maybe some showers up around Seattle, San Francisco, L.A., Vegas, Phoenix, all looking good. Salt Lake, not too bad either. A little treat, I guess, for some of the higher elevations. You get up into the Wasatch and the Rockies, and those ski resorts welcoming some early season snow at the highest elevations. For Hampton Roads, here's what we have for you. Looking ahead to the trick-or-treating, we're talking about Norfolk, Virginia Beach, the mid-Atlantic region. It's going to be really warm. Skies mainly clear. The wind southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Our message all week has been not too scary for Halloween. So good news for the trick-or-treaters. Temperatures will drop down through the low 70s as the kids are out and about on Halloween night trick-or-treating. So that's what we're looking at there. All right, let's talk Election Day. And many of you may be tuning in right now to get an early look ahead. Now, keep in mind, this is Wednesday, so we've got 6 days until Election Day. But with such a huge election and parts of the country, I mean, you've seen the polls. You know, some areas may favor one candidate over another. Where it rains and how much rain we see, where there could be potential snow, that may be a pretty big deal. A lot of folks interested. So here's an early look at the Election Day forecast. And you can see there could be some showers down across parts of South Carolina and Georgia. Maybe a little unsettled weather up around parts of New England. Looks like Boston could see some showers. I think chances around 40 to 50% up there, 62. New York City looks like it's going to be dry for the most part. Things are looking good for the mid-Atlantic here, from Delaware and Maryland down through Virginia and North Carolina. Talk about Pennsylvania, one of those battleground states. The weather looks pretty good, decent in Ohio, although clouds will increase. We do have some unsettled weather extending from Michigan through Indiana, Illinois, back through Missouri, down through Arkansas, and into Texas. At least chances for wet weather. And again, a little unsettled up around Minneapolis. So those areas may see some rain on Election Day. We will continue to watch all of this and keep you updated as we get closer to Tuesday and that forecast becomes more and more crystal clear. For the western part of the country, things are looking good for California down through Vegas, Phoenix, back through Denver, Colorado looking pretty good. Maybe a little unsettled around Salt Lake, especially some of the higher benches along the Salt Lake Valley. You get up into some of the resorts, you may see a little more unsettled weather up in the highest elevations. Maybe a little unsettled across parts of Idaho and into Oregon and also Washington State. So that's a look ahead to Tuesday on Election Day. Really encourage everybody to get out there and vote and let your voice, let your feeling be known with that ballot. Here's a look at what's going on with our sky view. Again, things are looking good across Hampton Roads. We have seen these clouds kind of hanging in, but this stuff's going to break up later through the afternoon. And this is our Priority Automotive Sky View. This is from Nauticus, and it's looking back across the Elizabeth River. Do want to update you on the tropics. You know, we're coming into the final month of the hurricane season. It ends November 30th. We've had names used up through Oscar. The next name is Patty. We don't have a great chance of development right now in the immediate future, but there is an area we're watching. So you can see down here in the Caribbean, look at the water temperatures. These are buoys that are taking measurements on these sea surface temperatures. 87 degrees in the central part of the Caribbean. That is crazy. 84 in the eastern Caribbean and areas just off to the northeast of that. So it's this area we're going to be watching as we go over the coming 7 days. You can see there's a 40% chance of development. I will tell you, looking at most of the models, they really don't do too much with anything early on. There's some areas of unsettled weather over the western and southwestern Caribbean, a little bit of cloud cover, a little closer to the Dominican Republic and back around Puerto Rico, just north of that up towards the Turks and Caicos. But this area here, as we go out a week or so, gets a little more interesting. And one of the models this morning was trying to produce something there. It's kind of a little bit of an outlier, but this is something that we want to continue to watch, and we'll do that over the coming week. We'll let you know. Right now, the convection we're seeing, again, some heavier rains very close to Central America here. You can see the unsettled weather in the western part of the Caribbean. Nothing well organized right now, but there is that chance of development. Fortunately, things are quiet right now in the Gulf of Mexico, but this area in the Caribbean we will certainly be keeping a close eye to. As for the main development region across the Atlantic, things pretty quiet, and we're getting into a period now with more active frontal boundaries coming through. So even when things do develop, they're typically picked up, recurved, and carried off to the northeast before having tremendous impact on the United States. So we'll see. Again, we've got another month or so left in the season. We certainly don't drop our guards here at 13 News Now, and I suggest you keep your guard up as well. All right, you take a look at the temperature change over the last 24 hours. We've been warmer here along the eastern seaboard, that cooler air coming in behind that front. And that front, as I showed you earlier, that's going to set up the battleground and the potential for severe weather in the central U.S. You take a look at the futurecast temperatures, that colder air eventually advancing, and we're going to chill out this weekend as we go along. We have high pressure that's in control right now for the eastern seaboard. Again, storms developing, and this is another one of the models. This one is not as high resolution as the one I showed you when we broke down the severe weather threat. But you see how this low kind of tracks along, and we have that potential for some intense rain, which will extend all the way down. This is through tomorrow morning. And then eventually that low tracks off to the north. The frontal boundary it drags through continues to slide east. High pressure moves offshore. We get a little unsettled for the northeast. We may or may not get a few sprinkles here. Most of the models do dry it out before really impacting Norfolk. That's why this incredibly long stretch of dry weather at Norfolk International will likely continue. So we're going to watch for that. High pressure builds in again on Saturday, much cooler. Sunday looks good as well. Into early next week, you see what looks like a clock just spinning here in this clockwise direction, those winds moving around like this. That is high pressure camped out over the area. That carries more unsettled weather across the central U.S., kind of up and over that ridge. The ridge is right here. So again, another powerful storm system potentially early to middle of next week. And again, this is election day on Tuesday. The unsettled weather back in this part of the country potentially. We'll watch and we'll keep you updated as we get closer. Another sky view showing some of the clouds still hanging in. I do expect skies to become partly to mostly sunny this afternoon, so we'll look forward to that. Water here along the coast and in the Chesapeake Bay looking pretty good for Hampton Roads. No problems here. Waves only a foot, 2 to 3 foot seas east of Virginia Beach. While we have the clouds out there right now, later this afternoon should become partly to mostly sunny. Temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. Tonight's low down around 61. It's going to become mainly clear. And then tomorrow for Hampton Roads, 79 degrees, mostly sunny. These temperatures over 10 degrees warmer than normal. We're typically around 67 degrees. As you can see, the skies are going to be mostly sunny late today, tomorrow, and for November 1st, there's a 15% chance for a shower coming through with that front. Otherwise, skies should be mostly to partly sunny. As Hunter was telling you, we fall back with our clocks. Daylight saving time ends this weekend. Earlier sunrise, earlier sunset on Sunday. But hey, we do get an extra hour of sleep this weekend. So if you've been looking forward to that, we do have that. And then Monday into Tuesday, more sunshine, temperatures recovering. By election day across Hampton Roads and much of the mid-Atlantic, we are looking at mostly sunny skies and warmer conditions with those highs in the mid-70s. Things looking good there. Want to remind you, if you're interested in getting more weather information, or if you have some feedback on this show or any of the different weather segments that we do at 13 News Now, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me through Facebook at Craig Moeller, Instagram, Craig Moeller TV, or on X at 13 Craig Moeller. All right. Again, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll be doing these daily, these special 13 News Now Weather Plus. Call it More with Moeller, whatever you want to call it. We'll be here. And again, it's always free and available through Fire TV, Apple TV Plus, and Roku. You're finding us here on the app. If you're watching right now through YouTube, we invite you to download that app as well. And we'll have a lot more, all of our weather and news content available through the 13 News Now Plus app and more segments just like this. Have a great day.